Hey, most of us have heard the infamous tale of Laszlo Hanyecz, or the Bitcoin pizza guy. You know, the one who spent 10,000 Bitcoins on 2 pizzas worth 41 bucks. 11 years later, the dollar equivalent for that amount of Bitcoin would amount to over $650 million. And I'm sure at least once you've had the fleeting thought, if only I was in his place, I'd have gotten sushi. Anyway, isn't it strange that being a crypto pioneer himself, Laszlo, along with many others, didn't see Bitcoin as a legitimate currency? Some others did though, and that made them ultra rich. So that got me thinking, were these guys just lucky, or did they understand something about money better than the rest of us? This inspired me to make this video about the history of money and try to lay out the logic and patterns of its development. Best case scenario, you use this info to spot some future trends earlier than others. And in the worst case, you'll still have some fun facts that you can impress people with at parties, and that's always nice. How did money appear and develop? And what gives money its value? What are the problems with the current monetary system? And at the end of this video, I'll give my predictions for the future of money that's likely waiting for us right around the corner. Some money even reached 4 tons in weight, so you couldn't pick it up. And now it mostly exists in the cloud, so you still can't pick it up either. It's digital. As human civilization develops, money also evolves to meet the requirements of the economic reality at hand. Like any human invention, money is designed to solve problems, specifically the problem of allocating limited resources. First, there was barter. The initial problem to be solved by trade, even before actual money, was safety. Within a tribe, property was communal, so there was no need for trade, but the only real way to get something from another tribe was to take it by force or steal it. There were a number of problems with this system, the main one being that life was just way too exciting.
2,000 years later.
So people switched to barter, the direct exchange of goods. That worked well for a while. You trade a basket of fish for a spade or something like that. Go home and no one gets hurt. But as the number of people and goods increased, defining each item's worth against another item became exhausting. If you had just 100 items on the market, that would mean dealing with almost 5,000 bilateral exchange rates. Imagine keeping all of that in your head, way before mathematics was even invented. It's ridiculous. The second stage of money's development, commodity money, was invented to aid rapidly developing trade. People needed something of more or less universal value to all the parties involved. Commodity money is something which has its own inherent value and can also be used as a medium of exchange. Using cattle as money was a good example. Its inherent value is obvious as it literally works for you, produces food, and there's no need for a wallet. In 3000 BC, you don't carry money, money carries you. More curious type of commodity money was cowrie shells, found in trade in the Pacific and Indian Oceans. They were originally valued due to their usage in religious ceremonies, but later people just appreciated that the shells were pretty, shiny, and durable, and that you could make jewelry out of them, and that was important. Fancy jewelry is equated with high status, etc., etc. You know how people are. Anyway, commodity money was decentralized, and there was no need to verify its authenticity. How do you counterfeit a horse? You can't. People could also acquire it via their own labor. Everything changed with the third stage of money, the minted coin. As government systems grew more complicated, states sought more control over their economies, and in 600 BC, the first coin was minted in the kingdom of Lydia. But then, the objects of universal value in the region were precious metals. Gold and silver. They're pretty, they're shiny, they're durable, you can make jewelry out of them, fancy jewelry equals status. We've heard this all before. You know how people are. But it was also possible to create alloys which diluted the content of pure precious metals. By minting coins, the king helped guarantee that each contained the exact amount of gold that it was supposed to contain. In addition, there was also a cool picture of a lion or a dragon or something like that, in case you didn't know what one looked like. The fourth stage, the paper banknote, appeared when people realized that carrying lots of metal around wasn't very convenient. This was especially true in China, where coins were mostly made of copper and had lower individual value. So, around 700 AD, one Sichuan merchant offered his clients to leave their coins with him and gave them a paper note, stating that with it they could always receive their money back from that merchant. That event is usually credited as the creation of paper money. However, the merchant's paper actually wasn't considered money at the time. It was just a promissory note, with which you could request your money back from a merchant or later from a bank, or from the state. But these notes had to be no less secure than the actual money in circulation, so the first Chinese state banknote stated simply, "If you counterfeit this, we will cut your head off." Slightly more aggressive than "In God We Trust," but it's the same message in essence. The fifth stage of money development wasn't tied to the creation of new physical material. Nonetheless, it might be the most defining one for today's economy. Trading in written promises instead of metal coins made economic transactions faster and more convenient, leading to its adoption by banks and governments around the world. However, at some point, bankers realized that they were not restricted to issuing only as many banknotes as they had actual gold in store. Thus, they could issue additional banknotes as loans or to invest, and then collect interest or profit on gold that they never had in the first place. Very sneaky. Sounds almost immoral when I put it like that, but in fact, this allowed more transactions to take place and boosted the economy. This fractional reserve system, where only a fraction of bank deposits are backed by cash, has existed ever since, but had an obvious catch. What if all the clients want to take out their money at once? Well, nothing good can come of it, I can assure you. Usually, in times of crisis, people remembered that the paper they had didn't actually have any value and rushed to get their coins back, creating a bank run and bankrupting the bank. Panic would then spread to other banks and threaten the whole economy, motivating governments to get such situations under control as best they could. This was all heading for the sixth inevitable step. First, the reserve banks and policies controlling deposit-to-cash ratios were created. But eventually, in 1971, US President Richard Nixon suspended the gold standard of the US dollar. It meant that the dollar, which was already the world's main reserve currency, firmly pegged to gold, officially became just a piece of paper or fiat currency, backed by nothing more than the USA's reputation as the world's strongest economy. That's how the initial promissory note, which only represented money, became actual money with its own value, which in this case is derived from trust in a central authority. Of course, money continued to evolve in terms of technology, and the next seventh step was bank cards. In 1950, Frank McNamara was having dinner in a restaurant with his wife, and because he had left his wallet at home, his wife was left to pay the bill. Wife paying your bill was just super embarrassing for a man in the 1950s. You just don't want to be that person. That prompted Frank to invent the Diners Club card, a special charge card you could present at a restaurant instead of cash, with which they could charge your bank later. Cashless transactions were both safer and more convenient than carrying lots of cash around, so charge cards and later credit cards got more and more popular. Since the 1980s and the advance of computer technology, transactions have become electronic, and developments such as magnetic strips, chips, and digital payment systems such as PayPal have brought us to where we are today, where 92% of money in the world is digital. What does this number mean? Well, something like what we have already seen with the fractional reserve system earlier. Only 8% of money in the world is actual cash, while 92% is sort of digital promissory notes, much in the same way as earlier there was more paper money than physical coins backing it up. So technically, if 10% of the world's population tries to withdraw their cash, well, most likely wouldn't even be allowed to do so in the first place, or perhaps the whole world would just collapse. Or quite possibly, the central authorities would transfer the value and the status of actual money from cash to some new form of digital money, just as they previously did with gold and paper money. But here's the question then. What value can digital money have on its own? Fully digital money inevitably became the next eighth stage in the history of money. In 2009, the second most mysterious figure of the internet, after myself of course, Satoshi Nakamoto created the first digital currency, Bitcoin. But if most transactions are already digital, and to be fair, already pretty convenient, what problems was this new technology supposed to solve? Well, it's decentralized and relies on cryptographic proof instead of trust in a central authority. All transactions are recorded and stored on a large public ledger, and by contributing to this process, new bitcoins can be mined. It also doesn't require or rely on middlemen such as banks. You can pay someone directly, wallet to wallet, without commission fees, the need to give away your personal data or any restrictions on how the money is used. So, is cryptocurrency an alternative to the current monetary system, or is it just the next step in its development? And I'd say it's kind of both. In the current system, the most advanced and convenient form of money has always been ahead of the actual money, which has some value still attached to it. Digital transactions are just representing paper money, which has value because it's issued by the government. Paper money previously was just promissory notes representing gold, which had value because it was shiny. So there's always a gap between what's perceived as having value and the most convenient form of money. And here's the catch. The central authorities fill this gap with trust to keep the economic system stable. However, in the process, the authorities gain more and more control, which is kind of the thing in general. That control allows them to eventually ditch whatever is seen as valuable, like what happened with gold in 1971, and could very well happen with paper in the future. So it seems that crypto is aiming to close this gap between money's most convenient form and its inherent value. In a way, it's a bit like modern-day commodity money, like horses in 3000 BC. It's decentralized, people can produce it via their own labor, it's difficult to counterfeit due to its inherent qualities, and so on and so forth. And what in this case is crypto's inherent value? The answer to that is simple: the technological design that makes all of these features possible in the first place. Now, does that represent any less of an inherent value than trust in a government or simply being shiny? Well, you can decide on that for yourself. And finally, it's time for my humble predictions for the near future. Will money become fully digital? It's very likely. As we can see, there's nothing really preventing it from happening. Will Bitcoin replace the dollar, as Jack Dorsey confidently predicts? Not necessarily. But it's clear that fully digital currencies, which started out as an alternative means of payment, are already being integrated into the mainstream. Certain features and events have led to more stability in the crypto market, such as stablecoins that are pegged one-to-one to fiat currencies, and states and corporations keeping parts of their assets also in crypto. Some countries have already even launched central bank digital currencies. In general, it looks like money will become fully digital once the most powerful countries find a way to switch to it, while simultaneously keeping a large enough grip over the global economic system. Every next step towards further integration will boost confidence in digital currencies and quite possibly their value. And this, of course, is very important. Confucius once said, "Study the past if you would define the future." And it's really a $1 million thought. Or 1 million cowrie shells, I suppose. That's what they used in his time. Anyway, let's hope my story didn't just entertain you, as I'm very entertaining indeed, but that the next time something new and exciting happens in the financial world, you will not be the guy who paid 10,000 bitcoins for a pizza, but the guy who sold it to him. Oh wait, no, he also blew that 10K on something really silly within a year. Never mind. But if you like cool insights into the world of money, finance, and investments, inspiring success stories, and exciting tales of failure, subscribe to this channel and like this video. I'll keep them coming. For now, cheers. Bye. I'll see you later.